Welcome to Speak Up and Stay Alive RadiOh with author, speaker, and your host, Pat Rouleau. Finally, someone willing and able to blow the top off hidden healthcare and hospital dangers. She's provocative, upbeat, balanced, fearless, fresh. Pat has over 20 years of experience as a professional public speaker and knows how to approach this important subject with enough humor and wit to keep you informed, entertained, and empowered. Each week you will say, "Oh," as Pat explores and exposes little-known hospital hazards, delves into the deep waters of dangerous healthcare practices, picks the brains of her good-looking and influential guests to help keep you and your family stay safe in today's fragmented healthcare system. The program is not intended to replace medical advice from a licensed professional, but rather to encourage you to become a well-informed participant in your health and well-being. And now, your host, Pat Rouleau.
I can't bear again no more, baby. I got too much pride. But I'll survive.
Hello, I'm Pat Rouleau, and I will be your hostess, your one-stop patient safety radio hostess, where I will spend the next hour serving you a generous helping of everything you need to know to help you and your loved ones stay safe during any doctor or hospital visit. People ask, who are you? Who am I? I am you. I am every person who has ever been in a hospital or doctor's office and has received less than acceptable treatment. I am you, the person who got an infection during a simple outpatient procedure. I am you, the patient whose questions are ignored, who struggles to speak to the doctor as he or she has one foot out the door. I am the missed heart attack, the hospital-acquired infection, the wrong diagnosis, the unanswered call button. I want this patient safety show to be about you, your family, your friends, and your loved ones. Speak up and stay alive, RadiOh. Yes, that's OH with an exclamation point. Will cause you to say oh, as each week we delve into little-known hospital and healthcare dangers. When you understand why something happens, you are better equipped to do something to change it and prevent it from happening to you. If enough people begin to speak up, together, each of us can alter the current precarious path of today's unsafe healthcare practices. Today is another exciting day to be listening to this radio show. Why? Because we have stuffed the next hour with so much usable patient safety information, you'll be a patient whiz when we're through. And I mean that. Because our guest today designed and created a healthcare safety app called the Patient Whiz, a breakthrough in patient engagement. So stay tuned for that. In fact, you know the drill. Find a cozy seat, unplug all ringing and buzzing devices, hang out the Do Not Disturb sign, and spend this next fascinating and fun-filled hour with us. But for now, it's time for the healthcare hazard of the week. Television ads. Typically, I don't watch much TV, but when I do, I tape the show ahead of time so I can fast forward through the commercials. I just don't have much patience for them. However, one night last week, I had nothing left to watch, so I tuned into some corny Hallmark movie, and let me tell you, I was shocked. In less than 2 hours, I was subjected to 9 or more drug ads. If you watch any TV, you've seen the barrage of advertisements for prescription medications. They always start by showing someone in distress from insomnia, allergies, erectile dysfunction, or other medical conditions. But after taking the drug, the person is either sleeping soundly or running through fields, while the announcer reads a scary list of side effects in a voice so sweet and soothing that they almost sound fun. Then there's the overuse of animation, hopping stomachs, talking mucus globs, depression umbrellas, and that irritating bee with an accent, just to mention a few. Did you know this? American television viewers see as much as 16 hours of prescription drug advertisements each year. Yet, despite claims that the ads serve an educational purpose, they provide limited information about the causes of a disease or who may be at risk. They show characters that have lost control over their social, emotional, or physical lives without the medication, and they minimize the value of health promotion through lifestyle changes. The FDA states that these commercials must present a fair balance of benefits and side effects of a drug, but it's obvious most don't. But then, the FDA is not really in our corner, are they? Drug ads are, after all, meant to sell products, not scare consumers off, so they're notorious for quickly flying through the obligatory list of the medication's risks, specifically by distracting you by using images or sounds that might draw your attention away from those laundry lists of potentially adverse events. It's commonly understood by psychologists and ad makers that if a person is presented with a list of things, he or she is more likely to remember items at the beginning and at the end of the list than the items just past the middle. For example, if you're asked to hear and then recall a list of 10 foods, chances are best that you'll forget the 6th, 7th, and 8th foods. So, while drug makers abide by the law and present important side effect information, it's no surprise that they nearly all follow the same format, putting benefit information in the first half of the commercial, side effect information just past the middle, and then benefit information again at the end. Sometimes they use complex language to de-emphasize the risk. In a study of 29 drug ads, the benefit information was written in a 6th grade level of language comprehension, while side effect information required a 9th grade level. A study from Duke University showed that when drug ads listed benefits, the images on the screen matched the voiceover and moved slowly. But when side effects were listed, the images often became mismatched to the voiceover and moved much faster or were more distracting. The famous example of this was that same Nasonex bee ad. The study counted the wing flaps of the bee and found that they fluttered faster during the side effect information than during the benefit information. The result was that viewers found it more difficult to remember the side effects than the benefits due to the distracting wing flaps. It's all very calculated and well thought out. The FDA's proposed guidelines on drug advertising control the font size, the white space, the context, the contrast, the placement, and the background. To me, this says that the FDA is fully aware of psychological tricks, such as those found in the Nasonex ad. And we must ask, who are these people at the FDA deemed noble enough to control these ads? Well, it's common knowledge that the FDA is staffed by ex-pharmaceutical company employees who continue to have a dog in the race and notably avoid their responsibility for public safety. Now, I'm not so much against the ads as I am against the delivery aimed to dupe innocent viewers. I am in favor of anything that honestly looks to inform a consumer. If the ads are truly, in the FDA's words, as stated on their website as their mission statement, truthful, balanced, and accurately communicated, well then get rid of the emotional ploys. Can the animation, skip the music and the rest of the shenanigans, speak all words at the same grade level and at the same pace, and level the entire field. I also remember when hospitals and doctors did not advertise. It was considered somewhat unprofessional to do so. Hospitals are currently increasing their investment in advertising in an attempt to differentiate themselves in a competitive environment. What with all the consolidation going on, they almost have to. And I'm not against advertising at all. It just has to be done responsibly. And if you've listened to the show recently, you've heard several of our guests talking about and promoting transparency. How about if a hospital publicly advertised their current infection rates and other errors as a way to help patients actually make intelligent healthcare choices? Simply claiming to be the best or state of the art, it's trite and it's meaningless and it's way overused. And talk about transparency, most consumers can see through those frequently used words. But full disclosure has been and is currently being done in a few other hospitals around the country with great success. We as patients have to pull up our big girl and big boy pants and ask for this type of information. We are ready for it. We appreciate honesty over media tricks. Or at least we should. Which takes me to this. Get your TV mute button ready for the onslaught of insurance exchange ads. Have you seen them yet? October 1st is the start date of open enrollment for state and federally run health plans, and several states are getting a jump on it. I viewed them online today. a really corny folk singer from Oregon playing guitar in front of a mountain stream, a woman jumping up and down in celebration surrounded by a baseball team. Really? How about just giving me the straight facts? I am not an idiot. I'm fully aware of the fact that I'm not going to go to my computer on October 1st and break into song or turn around to find a room full of hunky ball players in my living room. I know this because I'm not stupid, and I resent having to allow this to pass my eyeballs without my consent. So all of these nonsense images are from the first television advertisements being aired by state-run health insurance exchanges created under the federal health law. No one really knows how all of this will work out, or if, in fact, it will. And what a great blank slate that is for these ad marketers. No one really knows what's going on, so these media campaigns can solve your confusion with a TV ad. Hooray for simplicity! And I'm not picking political sides here either, because that is not what this show is about. But actually, what's noticeable about the ads is the elephant in the room. There's no mention of Obamacare, the requirement to buy insurance, no mention of the words Congress or Washington, D.C. Instead, the ads focus on how each state is about to launch a new option for insurance for consumers and how joyous the experience will be. And be prepared for ad wars from groups opposed to the health law. And here we sit, innocently trying to watch a little television to unwind after a crazy day, just to be bombarded with more crazy. Again, don't get me wrong. I'm not anti-advertising. It is the best way to make your message known. I am anti-condescending. Assuming that I am gullible and ignorant enough to be swayed by flapping bees and cheering ball players. My suggestion, purchase a DVR, tape your shows and fast forward through the intended brainwashing, or mute the commercials, or just turn off the TV and read a good book, or listen to the radio and conjure up your own images. Bottom line, we are in charge of ourselves to make sensible and safe decisions. And if watching those ads make you feel a bit sick, don't worry, there will be another ad with a remedy for that. Let's spend the next 2 minutes with my friend, Casey Quinlan, a patient activist, now famous for the question that should be on everyone's lips when they enter the healthcare world, and that is, how much is that? Welcome to the show, Casey.
It's always great to be here. Thanks.
Casey, why is that such an important question?
How much is that is something that no one asks or very rarely asks in healthcare. As far as I'm concerned, those are the 4 words that would actually transform healthcare for the better. How much is that? We can educate ourselves. We can educate our doctors, because most of the time doctors don't even know. And I think that everyone should be encouraged to understand what the costs of treatment options are so that we can really work toward shared decision-making.
Is there any other place in our life that we do not ask that question?
I can't think of one.
No, me neither.
I can't think of one. When you go to buy a car or you go to buy groceries, imagine if you go in and you're like, yeah, I want the blue car over there. And then you only find out how much it costs after you take it home and it's already yours and you've signed the papers. That doesn't make sense to me.
Part of the problem is many times you ask what a procedure or a test costs, and the office staff looks around. Well, I don't know what healthcare insurance you have.
Absolutely. But there is a way that a consumer can offer some helpful information and education to the healthcare teams that they work with. They can visit clearhealthcosts.com or Healthcare Blue Books. There's also costsofcare.org. So I think that if we all work together, patients, doctors, to answer each other's questions, I think we'll be doing a lot better across the board.
Absolutely. Ask how much is that. Casey, where can our listeners find out more about you, and where can they purchase your book, Cancer for Christmas?
There's a link to Amazon from my site, cancerforchristmas.com, and then my main business site is mightycasey.com, and there they can both find links to Cancer for Christmas and all of the other work that I do, both in healthcare and outside of healthcare, to help create media that educates audiences on what the value is that you bring to the planet.
And you bring quite a bit to us. You're full of energy. Thank you for sharing yourself and your advice with us today. I know you'll have more goodies for us next week.
I'm always happy to be here.
Thank you, Casey.
I'm Jerry the Germ with a Speak Up and Stay Alive healthcare and hospital safety snippet just for you. Here's our expert, Pat Rouleau.
Hey, Jerry, did you know that people are talking dirty and don't even know it? What do I mean? Think of cell phones and office telephones. Thanks to you, they're covered with thousands of Jerrys just like you. The germs on a person's hands go onto the phone, and a lot of respiratory viruses are expelled when you talk, sneeze, or cough. Thousands of people each year miss time from work thanks to all of this dirty talk. So what can people do? Sanitize your phone daily with a disposable disinfecting wipe, and clean your hands every so often with soap and water if possible, or at the very least, a healthy squirt of liquid alcohol-based hand cleaner. Talking dirty isn't nice, and it's not healthy. Stay safe. For more information, visit speakupandstayalive.com. And oh, Jerry, now what are you doing on the bottom of that lady's purse?
Stay safe. Listen to Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio. For more information, go to speakupandstayalive.com.
Brought to you by Generation America, the smart and traditional 50-plus membership organization. And they provide a full range of benefits to members. If you're looking for quality Medicare supplement, their rates are lower than the other 50-plus organization 3 out of 4 times. Generation America. To join and to find out more, visit generationamerica.org.
You're listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive, Patient Safety Radio. I am your hostess, Pat Rouleau, and if you've listened to 3 seconds of this show, you know it's all about becoming informed and empowered as a way to stay safe during every healthcare or hospital encounter. That's why I'm excited to introduce you to today's guest. She is Dr. Maria Hester, and she is revolutionizing patient empowerment with her new Patient Whiz. Maria is a board-certified internal medicine specialist with a passion for patient empowerment and education. She is here with us right now to share her recently completed innovative patient engagement app for iPhones and iPads. Welcome to the show, Maria.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. This is exciting news. I want you to explain all about this. So let's just dig in, and I'm thinking there might be some listeners that might not be familiar with an app. Explain what an app is. What does this device look like? What pieces of equipment would a user need?
Well, for the app, you need a smartphone. It's currently, the Patient Whiz is currently on the App Store. The Android version is slated to be completed this week, and so I would give it another week or so before it hits Google Play. But basically, if you have an iPhone or soon to be the Android version, you need an Android phone. All you would do is you go to the App Store and put in Patient Whiz, and in a couple of weeks you can go to the Android Google Play and put in Patient Whiz, and then you just click on that and you pay to have it downloaded onto your smartphone. Now, for people who do not have a smartphone, there is a credit card size flash drive that has virtually all of the same charts and so forth in it. And even for people who don't want to deal with computers at all, I've recently made these charts available in a 3-ring binder. So if people really just want the hard copy version, then they can carry the 3-ring binder with them. So basically, everybody, regardless of the level of technology, can benefit from this sort of training for patient empowerment.
Oh, that's great to know. That's excellent, because many of my listeners actually call me directly to order the book because they don't have internet. So yes, there's an app on the phone, a credit card size USB flash, and that just plugs right into the USB port of their computer.
That's right.
Or then you're saying you've got the paper chart. So now every listener can access and reach what we're talking about today. Good. Help us to understand what made you decide to create this Patient Whiz.
Well, I have seen so many cases over the years of patients who got suboptimal care, who ran up high hospital bills or high medical bills, who were the victims of medical errors and other adverse events simply because they were not empowered. Now, we go to medical school to learn how to be doctors. Patients don't have a patient school, and so patients have to kind of piece together pieces of the puzzle as they go along. And so the Patient Whiz was created to empower people with no medical background at all to communicate more effectively with their doctors, to help expedite their own diagnoses, decrease the number of unnecessary tests and procedures, decrease their medical errors, and decrease the unnecessary prescriptions that they may get.
You're right. There is no such thing as a patient school. So we come unarmed and we have no idea where to go and what we're doing. So what kind of a patient, what kind of a person would benefit from this app?
Everybody from a college student who's away at college and who needs to get his or her records and keep them with him for the future. Then you go to the caregivers taking care of mom and dad. Caregivers can go into a doctor's office and really help facilitate the care that the parent gets. And everybody in between, really. If you've never seen a doctor, it's just a matter of time you will. Now, as a physician, I hate to admit, a lot of things from my medical past I do not remember. I did not write them down. I don't remember specifics. And so if you take a person who is 18, 19, 20, and you move that forward 20 or 30 years, the capacity for them to really embrace this and get involved in their health care and optimize their care and help direct the care is huge. But basically, the bottom line is everybody can benefit from this. It's very easy to use, and you don't need a lot of skills to do anything. It's very user-friendly. You can scan, you can record, you can email, you can print, and you can just fill in the logs for a variety of different issues. Now, the app, all you do after you download it is you open it up and you just read through the disclaimer and agree to that. And then you set up your account. You put in your name. You put in an email address. But this is not a server-based app. The email address is simply to identify you should you lose your login information. It will let you reset it within the app. You can even set up a registration for all of your family members. If you're taking care of mom and dad, if you have 2 or 3 children, you and your spouse. So basically, your entire family's health records can be kept on this app. It is encrypted, which basically means once you log out of the app, even if you lose your phone, the likelihood anybody can access your records is remote. So once you create your account, you go in. It's in a very simple format to determine what you want to do. Do you want to scan a document? Let's say you go to a doctor's office. He does an EKG. You scan the EKG into your phone. So that the doctor gives you instructions. You're kind of fuzzy. You want him to record the instructions. You can pull that out and he can literally record those instructions. If you're taking care of mom and dad and you want the other caregivers to have the instructions, you can even email the voice recording. There are charts that deal with preventive medicine issues, family health issues. There are a variety of symptom-based charts. So, for instance, if you're at work and you develop abdominal pain, you pull it out, look at the abdominal pain symptom questionnaire, and you can start filling in the answers to the most commonly asked questions doctors are going to want to know about that symptom. You can print it. You can email it. So when you go to see the doctor, you can walk in the doctor's office with confidence knowing you've already had access to and thought through the most commonly asked questions for that symptom. It's the same for chest pain, shortness of breath, dizziness, headache, and so forth. And so these things help expedite your diagnosis because I'm teaching you how to think like doctors think. And by creating a better meeting of the minds, the doctors can focus on specific areas that they want to examine, specific tests that they want to do. They do not have to reinvent the wheel and ask a million questions because you're going in equipped and giving them the very vital information that they need to direct their exam, to direct their ordering, and to order the most likely medications that will benefit you.
Oh, this is so exciting because we always tell our listeners, bring a set of questions, but then they don't even know what questions to ask.
Exactly, and I provide these questions.
Yeah, it's like having you with them, right?
That's correct, so to speak.
Yay. Now, you mentioned scanning test results and recording appointments. I think that's awesome because so many people don't even know they are allowed to have copies of their test results. So say...
Oh, absolutely. Those documents are yours. And some people, even if you have an insurance company that gives you online access, well, what happens when your employer changes insurance companies? Mm-hmm. So everybody needs an ongoing record of their medical issues. And if you go to see a doctor and you scan in your results, you don't have to do it in his office. Ask for a photocopy. Take copies home. You can scan in the records into your app. So if at 8 o'clock on Saturday night you're at a restaurant, you develop a problem, you go to the closest ER. Even if your doctor is not available, but you will have that in your app. You have all of those things. You pull those out, give them to the ER doctor, and that can go a tremendous way at helping him help you and possibly avoid an unnecessary hospitalization if he can see the results that he gets have not really changed from your quote-unquote baseline results.
Going to avoid recurring x-rays that carry radiation risks with it. And now you're putting us in charge of our own health care, which is where we need to be. Question that occurred to me, do you think any doctors would give you pushback if you wanted to record your appointment?
Different different doctors are different. Some people really would not care. It would depend, I suspect, on the doctor's level of comfort. Mm-hmm. Now, you have a patient who's been seeing a doctor for years and the doctor feels very comfortable. He probably will. Now, on your first visit, he may not know if you're going to try to take that recording and turn it around somewhat and try to sue him or whatever.
Right.
And so different doctors are different. But even so, if you record something, the doctor can, within 10 seconds, email himself a copy of that voice file. And so he would have proof of what he said.
Yes.
And so even a doctor who's leery of anybody recording it, he can have access, and there is no identifying information in that voice file. The doctor may put it in the subject line, the patient's record number, or whatever else. And so even though it would be going over the internet, there's nothing in there that says this is Sandy Jones. And so that also helps with HIPAA protection, because even if somebody intercepted the email, no one would know what the email was about.
Interesting. So we can feel confident that the health information is secure.
Absolutely. And I did forget to mention that the app also reminds you that you have an appointment coming up. If you put in your upcoming appointments and you click that you want a reminder an hour prior to your appointment, an alarm goes off. If you want to remember you have to refill these medications, you can click on that option after you input your medications. Do you want a reminder to remind you to refill your medications? It also, it alarms to remind you to do very important things so you don't miss the doctor's appointment, so you don't forget to pick up that blood pressure prescription.
Excellent. This is great. I'm so excited about this. We talked about the decreased risk of medical errors, which if you have your medical information with you at all times, obviously that would happen. But how else will this optimize our care and perhaps even save us money?
Let's say that you just switched physicians. And so your doctor is not going to have all of your other doctor's records. And what typically happens is if you go to see a new doctor and it goes through your history and physical and so forth, and you say, well, I had these tests done here and this done here and so forth, you may or may not remember which radiology company did this, or which laboratory did that, or if your doctor's on vacation, that doctor at that point may not have any access to very important information about you, so he's going to order those tests. He's going to order those things that will help him answer those questions. If you have a copy of your most recent EKG, your blood count, all of those things with you, and though they were done a few weeks ago, he's not going to need to redo those things. That's the sort of thing that will help save money. And also, by empowering you to communicate on a completely different level, and you can expedite your own diagnosis, he's less likely to order unnecessary tests and procedures. There are many ways that this app can help you save money.
Excellent. Tell us a little more about how this could really benefit the caregiver.
Well, if the individual goes to the office without the caregiver and he has the smartphone and he has the app, there are only a couple of steps he needs to do to be able to record the encounter, or the doctor is actually a very simple app to use. He would see on the main menu the word record. Mm-hmm. And so he would click on that and he could record the instructions for the patient. The patient can listen to those instructions over and over again. Very common that more than one sibling takes care of a family member. But again, those voice files can be emailed to everybody in the family so everybody knows what's going on. If the caregiver actually goes in with the patient, it's still not a bad idea to get the recordings and so forth, just so mom or dad can hear those things reinforced over and over after the visit. And certainly scanning important information, if blood tests are done, if an EKG is done, those things are very important, because when you're out and you end up in an ER, the paramedics will take you to the closest ER by law. And if that ER, that hospital has no records, your doctor's not affiliated with the hospital, or if your doctor uses doctors such as myself, a hospital-based doctor, and never goes to the hospital himself anyway, then it has the potential to be a huge can of worms. Mm-hmm. And so the goal here is to empower people to partner in their health care on an unprecedented level to help them expedite their diagnoses, slash their bills, and decrease their errors. And there are many facets to this app in particular that will empower people to do just that.
You know, Maria, as you're speaking, I was thinking about a segment I did just recently, people being discharged from the hospital with very sketchy discharge instructions. Wouldn't this be a solution to a dangerous discharge, to have all of that taped and to scan current medications and those type of things?
Certainly, and also in addition to the sketchy records, people don't hold on to those things very often. By the time they get to see their doctor and follow-up, they may have lost it. And so you can scan in your instructions. You can get a copy when you go to the hospital. You have the right to get a copy of your admission note and your discharge summary. Now, your discharge summary is going to have all your significant test results, all of your radiographic studies, your CAT scan reports, all of those things. You can get a copy of that. It may not be ready when you're discharged because the doctor may have to dictate it, but go to the medical records department and sign the paperwork that will be mailed to you, or go back and pick it up and scan that into your app. And so the next time you end up in an ER or on vacation where no records are available whatsoever, you can pull out this discharge summary and a doctor can see details of your CAT scans, your blood tests, all of those things. All of those things are crucial. And so I strongly suggest that everybody get a copy of his or her discharge summary after being discharged from the hospital.
I don't remember what the statistic was, but it was a pretty crazy one where people go to their follow-up primary care physician a couple weeks later, and that doctor doesn't necessarily have the discharge instructions, and so they're left in the dark, not really knowing what happened. So now you're in charge of yourself. Now, you said this is going to be available on Android any minute now, probably any week.
Hopefully by sometime next month, but it is available on the App Store right now. It's currently a 5-star app. The reviews have been very positive.
Now, once again, we mentioned it, but let's just review. Those that do not have a smartphone, how can they benefit from this information?
If you don't have a smartphone, you can get the 3-ring binder version. All the versions are available on the site at Patient Whiz, that's W-H-I-Z, patientwhiz.com. You can get the flash drive version. The flash drive is credit card size, and ultimately I'm going to make it available in other forms of flash drives, such as a bracelet and so forth. The flash drive version comes in a HIPAA-compliant version and a version that's not password protected, and I really suggest that users get the version that is not HIPAA-compliant, because the HIPAA-compliant version does require you to be able to download drivers. So if you're in the ER, that hospital may not allow you to download your drivers on their computer.
Right.
You can always get the version that is not password protected. Go online, spend $5 or $6, and get and download a device that will let you create your own password. And also, realistically, if somebody steals your wallet, the likelihood that they're going to spend time going through everything on your app is really remote. But the likelihood that you could use, on your flash drive is remote. The likelihood you could use that flash drive to potentially help save your life is tremendous. You can actually scan and record in the flash drive version, but you need your own scanner and you need your own microphone. So you can still scan documents into the flash drive version. It's just more intensive because you have to get your own scanner and so forth. And also the flash drive version has multimedia modules that take you through additional patient empowerment skills, including hospitalization issues, how to stay safe in the hospital.
If our listeners have a specific question to ask you, like what version should I get or what do you think is best for me, can they contact you, and where would they do this?
Certainly. They can give me a call at 443-414-8182. Keep in mind, if I'm seeing patient, it's going to go to voicemail, but just leave me a message and say, hey, I heard the radio interview and I want more information, and I'll certainly call you back.
Okay, and where again can they purchase the Patient Whiz? What's the website address?
The website is Patient Whiz, that's with an H, patient.wiz.com, or they can go directly to the App Store, the Apple App Store, to download the iOS version.
Excellent. All right, well, I'm going to ask you one more question. Do you have any final words of advice for our listeners today?
Yes, I do. Experts are predicting a shortage of, in certain cases, the expectation is over 100,000 physicians in the coming years. The amount of time that you have with your physician is going to be at a true premium. Do not waste that time. Empower yourself to be able to walk into the doctor's office, look him in the eye, get to the point, do it concisely and effectively so you can help him help you in a cost-effective, safe, time-efficient manner.
Excellent. Maria, thank you for sharing this smart and helpful invention that can help our listeners stay on top of their medical care, can save them money, and ultimately keep them safe.
Thank you so much for having me.
Listen, while I spend the next 2 minutes with Hari Khalsa, better known as the Healthcare Whisperer. In her role as a healthcare advocate and as a family nurse practitioner, Hari has direct experience in navigating the healthcare system in order to find patients the best possible healthcare. So welcome to our show, Hari.
My pleasure, anytime.
Today, if you don't mind, we are going to play the Healthcare Whisperer Word Association game.
Word is empowered.
Empowered. I think that's the nature of where medicine is going, in that patients have to feel that they are part of the relationship in healthcare. You go to the doctor and you sit and get the information and you leave. And I think that has to change now, especially with all the information on the internet. The patient has to be involved in decision making. And the patient has to be allowed to get all the information without fear of being penalized for it, which is a big fear that patients are always saying to me, well, if I don't do what they say, will they get mad at me and fire me? And I'm like, no. If they do, then they're not the right doctor for you. But the real issue is often in the hospital, where it can be very difficult to get information and real-time information. So I say the more questions you ask, the better off you are. The more you put your hand up and say, just hold on, everybody, I'm not ready to make that decision. That's what it's about in being empowered. And it gives you the sense that you're part of this relationship, not just taking information. I always tell people you've got to have a list of questions when you go to the doctor, because you will forget what you want to ask. That's a real sense of empowerment when you can have a list of questions and get them answered.
I agree. I hope everyone's listening. Where can our listeners find out more about you and what you do?
They can go to my website, which is healthcarewhisperer.com. My phone is 866-980-4325. In the end, I always believe people want the best for everybody, for patients, and they want them to be better. And I'm here to help you do it.
You are the go-to person. It's healthcarewhisperer.com. Thank you, Hari, for sharing your wisdom with us today.
My pleasure, anytime.
You're listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio. Now you can join us every Saturday morning on 2 Cleveland, Ohio stations and on 2 Phoenix stations on Saturday morning and on Sundays, or listen to us live online from anywhere in the world at the station's websites. I am your hostess, Pat Rulo. So happy to spend this hour with you to help you survive any healthcare or hospital encounter. Well, today the boys decided to get back to our roots, and that could only mean one thing.
Fear the wheelchair.
Oh, well, in case you don't remember, here's why our game has such a crazy name. By now, you've probably heard me talk about how I fear the wheelchairs that grace the front doors of almost every hospital. Patients and visitors get out of their cars and hop into the wheelchair, and I always wonder, where have they been? What have they touched? When was the last time those jeans were washed? Well, then they wheel around the hospital, use the bathroom, sit in waiting rooms, visit patients, all the while picking up additional and deadly hospital bacteria like MRSA, C. diff, a bit of E. coli, and perhaps some candida yeast. And at the end of the day, they're back in their cars, leaving the contaminated wheelchair at the front door of the hospital, ready for the next person to climb aboard. Well, this makes the wheelchair a high-touch, highly contaminated vehicle capable of spreading infections all over the place. So the wheelchair is now this show's representation of all hospital dangers, kind of like our mascot. So here we go, the revival of everyone's favorite game show of all time.
Fear the wheelchair.
Listen as Joe reads some right or wrong statements. Then, even though I can't hear you, shout out your answers along with Bob. Is the statement right? Or is it wrong? All right, Joe, are you ready?
Yes, I am, finally. Right or wrong, going beyond the ask button means healthcare providers should offer patients a way to learn about hospital hazards and then allow them to speak up without fear.
What do you think about that, Bobby?
I think that's true.
Yes, it is true. That is right. And I'm hoping that some hospitals and healthcare facilities will take advantage of my PEP talks. And that stands for patient engagement programs, or patient empowerment programs, or patient experience programs, whatever you want to call it. But I believe that by educating patients and then allowing them to use that knowledge without fear, that hospitals can improve their patient satisfaction scores and patients will have a better and safer experience. What do you think of that, Joe?
Sounds good to me.
You got it.
Right or wrong, the word antibiotic means against life.
What do you think about that,
It's
Bobby?
definitely against life.
You've heard way too many of my presentations, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. I could probably quote them verbatim.
Well, let's not go there. Actually, anti means against, and bios is a Greek prefix that means life. So when you take an antibiotic, it destroys all the bad life and the good life, leaving you at risk. So I suggest to take a probiotic. I take one every day. Do you, Joe?
No, but I'm trying to eat more yogurt.
That's right. You eat more yogurt.
Yeah.
That's good. That's healthy for you. Pro means for, bios means life, so a probiotic is for life. Joe knows what he's doing. And remember, guys, don't take antibiotics for any reason other than a bacterial infection, right?
That's correct.
You got it.
All right, good boys.
Right or wrong, prior to any and every healthcare encounter, a good question to ask is, will it hurt?
What do you think, Bob?
That's a good question. I think that is a good question. I'd want to know if it hurts and what. I'd like to know all about it.
Oh, Bob, that's wrong.
Thank you.
But you know what? It is still a good question.
That's a very good question.
It really is a good question. But if you remember one of our guests a few weeks ago, Casey Quinlan, you might remember that she wrote the book Cancer for Christmas. Well, she gave us some quick one-liner advice to our questions, and she couldn't stress enough that we asked the question, how much is that? Remember that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So if all patients asked that question, perhaps the veil of secrecy surrounding medical costs would be lifted.
That's a good way of answering it.
So first we'll ask how much is that, and then we'll ask if it hurts.
And then will it hurt my wallet, right?
There you go. That's what
That's where the hurt comes in,
That's
Joe.
where the hurt comes. Your answer was right then, Bob.
You're right.
All right. We need a clap, right, Joe?
Sure, real quick.
Yay, Bobby was right. Any more?
Yeah, one more. Right or wrong, want to be a good patient? Dig out those words, please and thank you.
What do you think, Bobby?
I definitely believe that you can get more attention that way if you ask and if you're very sincere about it.
Absolutely. That's right.
Oh, okay.
Actually, it's a beginning. I would also suggest that you ask for help. Would you please help me? I know you're busy, but will you help me understand the side effects of this medication? And then say, thank you. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for helping my mom. This is some powerful stuff, folks. Don't you guys think?
I definitely believe so.
Yeah, when I was in the hospital for that week, when I kept saying please and thank you, at first they were kind of jumped back and like, what you're saying please and thank you? But it actually did work.
Absolutely. See, take advice from Joe. Well, thank you guys for playing the most requested radio game show of all time. I'm almost certain.
Yeah.
And it's called
Fear the Wheelchair.
Yay. Listeners, don't go anywhere. There's so much more you can learn about healthcare and hospital safety on America's favorite show, Speak Up and Stay Alive, RadiOh. On this show, we talk about the need for a patient advocate during every healthcare or hospital encounter. But advocacy also includes whom you rely on when it comes to health insurance. And when it comes to your Medicare supplement plans, you must compare. Listen while I spend the next 2 minutes with Chris Alberta, the Medicare supplement partner with Generation America, as we discuss the importance of choice. Chris, can you tell us how are you and Generation America different when it comes to choosing a Medicare supplement plan?
They're doing something, Pat, that is really unique. What they said to us was, how can we offer everybody who's a member of our organization basically a menu? Many people don't know this, is all these Medicare plans, most of them are exactly the same coverage. The only difference is the price that you pay. We work with probably upwards of about 50 different programs and carriers around the country, which is most of them. And Generation America hooked up with us and said, listen, how can we show our members every single program that's available in their zip code and then really break it down according to age and price so they never end up overpaying. All of the reps that work for us have been licensed and trained in this kind of work, and most of them have worked in the field, Pat, actually at the kitchen table with folks. So they're not just, like a sales bank somewhere. They really care what you get, and we pay them exactly the same either way, which is cool because there's no incentive to ever recommend one product or one company over another.
That is great to know. People need choices, and they need to feel safe when they make those choices. So how can our listeners find out more, and where can they purchase the proper Medicare supplement for themselves?
Well, the website, generationamerica.org, is the main portal. That's the front door, really, for that team.
Well, thank you for spending the time to clarify Medicare supplements with us today, Chris.
No problem, Pat.
Remember, folks, Generation America is on the right side for seniors. For more information or to join, visit generationamerica.org. Once again, we have my friend Elizabeth Bailey with us, and she is ready to share some valuable patient safety checklists with us found in her book, The Patient's Checklist. Listen, as Elizabeth spends the next 2 minutes with us. Elizabeth, what critical information do families know about the patient that is important for the care team to know?
I often think friends and family think that they don't play an important role in high-tech medical care. But friends and family possess critical knowledge of the patient as a human being with a history, a life before the illness. The person comes first to the family, the patient second. Consequently, a family's observations about a loved one can make a really tremendous but often overlooked contribution to planning and assessing treatment. Your family is the one who knows what is the normal for you. The individual patient's story is as important in judging the efficacy of treatment as scientific data. So every individual is unique and responds uniquely, no matter how standardized the treatment is. And families can tell if a patient is uncomfortable or if they don't seem like they're responding well to treatment in a way that doctors and physicians and nurses who aren't familiar with the patient won't recognize. Families can also play a really important role in day-to-day care just by monitoring things like, is the patient getting any rest? Are they able to sleep? Is the patient getting adequate nutrition and hydration? These are comfort care issues that, frankly, nurses and physicians are too busy to pay attention to these things. And these are important parts of the healing process. The family can play an important role and take over. Just holding the patient's hand are all important aspects of healing.
I know when my mom was in the hospital, that was my major job. Those little things that get overlooked, but they all add up and they could make a huge difference. Comfort care is extremely important.
They do.
Yes. Where can our listeners find out more about you and how can they contact you?
Go to my website, which is thepatientschecklist.com.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for sharing your simple hospital checklist with us as a way to keep us safe, sane, and organized.
Thank you very much for having me.
And remember, folks, visit her website, thepatientschecklist.com.
This segment is brought to you by Mountain View Funeral Home and Cemetery on East Main Street in Mesa and Santan Mountain View Funeral Home and Advanced Planning Center on South Ellsworth Road in Quinn Creek. They're family-owned and operated and have served the East Valley for 61 years. Visit them online at mountainviewfuneralhomeandcemetery.com or call 480-832-2850.
You're listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive RadiOh. I am Pat Rouleau, your hostess and author of the book Speak Up and Stay Alive, The Patient Advocate Hospital Survival Guide, available at all of our live speaking events or at our website, Speak Up and Stay Alive. And if you want to purchase the book but do not have internet access, it's okay to call me. Lots of folks order the book by phone, so give me a call, 440-725-5462. That's 440-725-5462. Well, today, we talked about television ads, whether they be drug ads, hospital ads, or the new health insurance exchange ads. Watch them and take them for what they are. Media campaigns that cost huge sums of money, oftentimes aimed at showering your senses with a perception rather than the reality or the truth. Be mindful to make all of your buying decisions, healthcare or not, on facts and not fluff. And our guest, Dr. Maria Hester, introduced her Patient Whiz, a handy device to help you manage your health care. Be sure to visit her website, patientwhiz.com. And if you missed some of today's show and you want to hear it in its entirety, simply go to the RadiOh link at the website, speakupandstayalive.com. That's where you can listen to today's show. And you can also purchase the book, Speak Up and Stay Alive, The Patient Advocate Hospital Survival Guide, written by me, just for you. If you do not have a copy of this important book, you are missing some seriously valuable patient safety ideas. It's easy to read in short sections, highlighted with real-life stories that my mom and I lived through that prove the need for this kind of knowledge. So between the book and the weekly radio shows, I think it's safe to say that you may be adding years to your life or the life of someone you know and love. So set your alarm clocks for Saturday and Sunday mornings and tune in and tell your friends. Patient safety should not be a secret. And let me take a moment to thank all of our radio sponsors and weekly guest experts, because thanks to them, we are here and that helps keep you safe. Generation America, the AARP alternative. Elizabeth Bailey, author of The Patient's Checklist. And we have Mountain View Funeral Home and Cemetery in Mesa and Queen Creek. Power tags, titles, and more in Queen Creek. Hari Khalsa, your champion for healthcare advocacy solutions. Casey Quinlan, Mighty Casey Media, and author of Cancer for Christmas. I encourage you to support these fine folks. And you can find their information at the SpeakUpAndStayAlive.com website. Oh, and be sure to listen next week as our Summer Just Got Serious guest lineup continues. Our guest is Patient Dave, who believes that all healthcare consumers should have easy access to their data. You may not be familiar with some of these folks, but our summer guests are some of the hottest and brightest minds in patient safety today. So, call all your friends, your neighbors, your in-laws, and even your outlaws, and tell them to cancel all their plans, mark your calendar, crank up the AC, and set your alarms for when? You know when. Saturday mornings in Phoenix, Arizona, from 6 to 7 Mountain Time on AM 1360 KPXQ. And then on Sunday morning in Phoenix, you can listen from 9 to 10 Mountain Time on AM 960 KKNT. Or you can always listen live via the internet from anywhere in the world. Check the SpeakUpAndStayAlive.com website to find out how. In the meantime, I hope you have a healthy and a happy week. I am Pat Rouleau, and I am your guide to safe and successful healthcare and hospital encounters.
The information provided in today's broadcast is for informational purposes only and was not intended for use as diagnosis or treatment of a health problem and should not be considered as medical advice. If you've missed part of today's show or just want to share the information with friends, you can listen to all of Pat's previous shows at SpeakUpAndStayAlive.com. Want even more information? Purchase a copy of Pat's book at SpeakUpAndStayAlive.com. Once again, it's SpeakUpAndStayAlive.com. Or you can call Pat at 440-725-5462. Until next week, remember, it's okay to ask others to wash their hands. You have to speak up and stay alive. Brought to you by Generation America, the smart and traditional 50-plus membership organization. And they provide a full range of benefits to members. If you're looking for quality Medicare supplement, their rates are lower than the other 50-plus organization 3 out of 4 times. Generation America. To join and to find out more, visit generationamerica.org.